For a while now, I've wanted to make a video on Siptah, and it's kind of been in the back of my head, just lingering, that if I don't make this video, I feel like I can't make other videos, relating to other content, games, and such. So I figured let's get this one out of the way. Now, a little bit about Siptah. Siptah was released on September 15th, 2020. That was the early access for Steam. Officially released May 27th of 2021. Now, there was a lot of content that comes with Siptah, as you can see, and one of the biggest ones being the Storm Glass set, and one of my favorite sets, actually, probably one of their better DLCs that they released. Now, here's the thing, though. There's a lot of armor and weapons, and I don't even think this actually shows us. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it's going to show us the other recipes that you get from dungeons and stuff like that. I think it does discuss sigils on this page. If you're interested, I'll put it in the description. We're not going to go over all the items, armors, and stuff that come with it, but what we are going to discuss is how broken some of these items were. If you're new to Conan, new to Conan, and you don't know much about this, but let's talk about the aspect of the demon with the Corsair outfit. Now, in the world of PvP, this was a meta build. Okay, the Corsair would give you health, while the aspect of the demon was considered a light helmet, so it would keep you light, which means rolling and stamina, regen, and all that good stuff was, the best it could be. It's a bit different now with the changes they have made to stamina and how it works with armor, and they've buffed it up, so it's not as big of a deal as it was back then. But having a helmet that could have about, what was it? I think the aspect of the demon with a shield right could have like 400 armor, if not more. I could be mistaken, but it was ridiculous that helmet alone could give you that much armor. So then it would put you into the armor category as if you were wearing medium or some kind of heavy armor, and you're still in light armor. Plus, the health that it gave you really buffed you up. Another issue with Siptah was the fact that these dungeons offered you sigils. Now, these sigils, some were useless and weren't as sought after, but some were great for PvP. Things that would help with poison, bleed, stuff like that. I think there was even one to help with cripple. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But, so now you have to farm these dungeons or these sigils to stack on top of the buffs that you already had to take. Now, back in the day, you had to take a lot of buffs. You could take one of everything to help buff your attributes. They've since done away with that, and now you only need to take a couple buffs. So that's not as big of an issue, but having to have these sigils to be on par, plus the weapons and armor that you could acquire from these dungeons. Some of the dungeons have recipes at the end of them, maybe for armor, maybe for weapons. And one of the most broken and popular weapons that you saw people using was Feroxic. Now, Feroxic had built-in poison, but it was cheap to craft. All it cost was some Eldarium. And then I think, weapon handle. I think that's literally it for the Feroxic stuff. And it had built-in poison, so crafting that with a bladesmith, these weapons hit hard. You also had ones that could sunder. The Harpy, their weapon set, from the daggers to the spear, and I'm pretty sure that even the arrow, there was an exploit with it at shooting it at a target or something like that, and it could duplicate the arrows. I think that was the Harpy bow. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was the Harpy bow. Nothing new here. Funcom releasing broken items, but they completely went in an odd direction, because if you played Exiled Lands and then you played Siptah felt like you were overpowered. And then they bring in server transfers, which means people that maybe don't want to buy Siptah are then going to be at a disadvantage, because now that server transfers are enabled, and on a PvP server, I have unlocked these recipes on Siptah. I'm going to bring over some Eldarium, which isn't hard to do because I could just bring over stacks of scrap, which don't increase my encumbrance by much, smelt them there, have tons of Eldarium, craft these easy to craft recipes that I paid for, and bam. I'm going to be at a higher advantage than other players. Now, it's not pay to win technically, because I'd still have to be able to transfer to exiled lands because I have no access to these recipes that I paid for. And it's funny because Siptah still holds a price tag of $20. Now, you can get it cheaper from third party websites and during sales, but Siptah's kind of dying. It's on that verge where there's not a lot of people playing it. A lot of people don't really enjoy the map. The map almost looks unfinished. The whole center of the map, it looks so barren and just desolate. Yeah, they've added some camps and stuff to the map. The idea of the middle of the map was for the maelstrom and the shrines in order to do the surges. And the surges were a good idea, in my opinion, to bring PvP, give people something to do, call in, unique thralls and creatures and stuff, and allow other people to be aware that it's happening so they could come counter it. But you could have just added those things in on exiled lands. And that was a big gripe that a lot of people had. Why didn't you just expand on exiled lands? Now, they never openly said, hey, we're going to expand exiled lands, but there was hints that, that could possibly be what was coming, but then we got a DLC. If you look at the exiled lands map here, there's tons of space and things they could actually do with it. If you look at the Siptah map, look at all that water. Now, I get it. It's an island, Isle of Siptah. Very clever. That's a clever marketing thing because, we got to keep it an island and it's got to be surrounded by water. Yeah, but the map could have been filled in a lot more. More content could have been added. But we got the subpar amount of content from Funcom because, as always, they want to cash in on people's love for the game and, the lore behind it and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that actually like Conan and enjoy the lore, and when they see them adding in little things related to the comics or the books or whatnot, you know how nerds are, we go wild. But the thing is, there's just the replay value of Siptah versus exiled lands is very low. Siptah's nice. It does have some beauty to it. Some of the dungeons, I think, are very nice, but they become very redundant quickly because you have to farm it constantly. Now, if you're one of the people that farm decaying Eldarium this way, it's a good way to get extra Eldarium, but the best way to get Eldarium is through scraps. There's a few camps, the bosses drop scraps. Those scraps, the conversion rate is high. You get more out of it that way. You can get Eldarium extremely easily. Same with Star Metal on Siptah. It's everywhere. It's such a drastic change from exiled lands to this, which is why a lot of people, threw out this map is pay to win. And, you can kind of understand the gripes there. So why wasn't Siptah just free? Well, of course, they couldn't expand exiled lands. That would be free. If they added a new area, or extended, or a new biome or something, well, everyone already has access to that. They have the core game. Well, they're not going to make money off of that. Well, they got to make a new map. And then they come out with the idea of server transfers. Well, you kind of got to have a server transfer. Otherwise, what's the point of two maps? But guess what? They did not properly balance Siptah with exiled lands in mind, which is just a reminder to me that they never really know what's going on. They're not aware of their core game. They've always had issue balancing it. When they released Siptah, these broken weapons, the things that became the meta, all the issues with the server transfer and certain items and weapons and the glitches and the exploits that came along with this DLC was insane. The way to deal with it, get rid of server transfers. And that should be a constant reminder to you that Funcom's response to these situations has always been, don't talk about it. You go to one of their live streams and they're asking if anyone's got questions. You bring up a question, a valid question, mind you. When are you guys going to fix exploiters, cheaters, people living in the mesh, sky bases, all that sort of stuff? They ignore you. They don't really touch on it. But those are core issues of the game that ruin the experience for other players. but you have no problem answering someone when they're asking about cosmetics, DLC, or some little new pet variation or something like that, but you don't care about actually fixing your core game, which is something that is very reminiscent when they got rid of server transfers. Server transfers had a lot of issues. They needed to tweak it and work on it. They didn't. They rushed it out. It caused a lot of issues. There were people transferring in with weapons that could one-shot your base, even though raid times were not happening. Lots of exploits and glitches were going down. So they just got rid of it. It's been another year and we still don't have much information on it. They're probably never coming back. They probably never want to bring them back because they would actually have to fix it. And then they would actually have to balance things. Now, yes, they did nerf a lot of things on Siptah at this point. Like the aspect of the demon does not give you that insane armor. Feroxic weapons aren't as powerful as they once were. They've nerfed the damage and effects and stuff like that. Took them a long time, though, to get to that. But they would never have to worry about things like this if they actually did proper designing before releasing it to the public. But they never do that. They didn't even do it with one of their DLCs. When Conan Exiles first launched, we were promised dynamic combat. We didn't get dynamic combat. You literally had like one animation. Some weapons even had the same animations as a hatchet, as your pick. You were just smacking the air like some Minecraft attack. That's not very dynamic. From the very launch of Conan Exiles, we were already lied to and deceived. Now, while there have been some good changes in the game, there's been a lot of negatives, and there's always something to counter out a positive. And that's just 2024 Conan, how it is now. Because when I first got back into Conan, I did play Siptah, and I did enjoy it. But I was able to survive in a base on land. Try to do that now. It's not going to happen. But I was able to use vaults to my advantage because back then, vaults used to actually take quite a bit of damage to blow up. So if I put them in a structure, stacked a little bit, I could have access to my vault for quick drop-offs or quick looting. And I would know that the people bombing it would take enough time to where I could get the loot out and move it around. It gave me more options as a new player because the combat had been changed and everything was different. I didn't understand the new weapons on Siptah or armor, but I did know how to build. And this, of course, was back when the stacking was the creme de la creme of stacking, where you could have layers of it just inches apart from one another, and it looked so beautiful. And, so we had stacked bases, stacked vaults, a rat's nest of multiple vaults, so they don't know which base to blow into, which vault is profitable, and it confused them. So we were able to survive raid times. We might not have been the best PvPers back then, but we had that survival itch. That's what I loved about Conan, is it gave even a player that is less familiar with the game a better chance. But now vaults are such a joke. 25 bombs and they just burn so quick, it's ridiculous. You can just spam them, and then the amount of time to craft the bombs has been decreased. Easy peasy. And farming dragon powder, it's never been easier. But that could be for another video. But the point is, Siptah, when it was launched, was not balanced properly. And some could argue it's still not balanced properly. And since there are no server transfers, Siptah should be free. It just should be to the public at this point. Why should you have to pay for a DLC you truly cannot utilize? You buy Siptah, go play single player. You could start up a dedicated server with, a few friends. You can go try to play official, and good luck on playing official. If you play PvP, good luck trying to play Siptah. You'll find a Siptah server. Oh, look, it's dead. You hop on with a few friends. Next thing you know, there's a few more people on the server. And these people don't want you on the server because their neck beard having ass believe it's their server. So they're not going to fight you fair. They're going to cheat. They're going to hit you hard. They're going to exploit, because in some weird mindset, they believe that this is their home server. They own it. You're not allowed there. They're going to take everything from you by any means necessary. So trying to play it on official, PvEC, I have heard issues there as well. PvE, I've heard issues there as well. people building, blocking things, stuff like that. It's an issue. So the next best option is a private server. If the private server does have a server transfer mod, then you are capable to transfer between exiled lands and Siptah. But you have to have the mod, the server has to have the mod, and a lot of times the Siptah servers just are not populated. People are too busy playing exiled lands. Why? Because exiled lands has more playability. Funcom could literally look at their statistics for this and just say, hey, let's just release it for free. Give people access to it because they're really only going to be able to experience it on an extremely small scale. We might as well just let them have it at this point. Because I have Siptah, and the only recipes that I have access to are the base kit armors that came with it, the building pieces, but every other recipe is locked on Siptah. I have to go to Siptah with that character to unlock all these extra recipes in order to actually own what I paid for. So it should just be free. Let me know what you think about that. Do you disagree? What were your issues with Siptah if you played it? I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. I think Siptah should just be a free DLC at this point. They've got their bazaar. They're taking the battle pass away from us because they realize, well, some people just buy the battle pass and then they make their money back and they get some items. So now they're going to charge us exuberant amount of money just to get these. You want this set of 2 wooden chairs and a table that looks like it's got food on it? $15, man. Like, oh my god, most of the junk in the battle pass was trash anyways, but they're gonna now take that trash and make you pay $10, $15, $20 for it, while they still have a DLC for $20 regular price. Yes, you can get it on sale, like I did say, and other websites. But what's the point? Siptah is boring, it's redundant. The surges are only cool if you have a populated map and there's PvP going on, but if it's just you and a couple buddies, there's no threat to doing it. There's no threat in going into the maelstrom and trying to take on the enemies and the foes. There's no threat of doing dungeons. You don't have to worry about a dungeon being on cooldown. You could do it repeatedly. You could turn down the respawn timer of the dungeon to reset. You won't get that same experience that you're intended to get from Siptah because Siptah sucks. And why does Siptah suck? Because Funcom sucks. And I used to love Siptah, but then I played Siptah for many hours and I was like, this is worse than Exiled Lands. Like, Exiled Lands has replayability to me. It's an old map. It does look dated. It's not as beautiful as it once was, but for what it is, it's still pretty darn good. And you can see they did put some love and care into Exiled Lands when designing it. And when it comes to Siptah, it does not feel like the same love and concern was put into it at all. And this is something I preach in my videos. They never do their due diligence when they release new content or implement new features. They never research it enough, which is why there were so many issues with Siptah and Exiled Lands and server transfers. And instead of taking the time to actually fix these issues, they started creating ages and adding in simplistic events into the world that really don't add a lot to the game. It just makes getting certain things easier and starting up. What they've turned the game into from what it was, it's really sad to have been around that long and to have played it. Because if you're just starting out now and you don't know all these issues, well, buckle up, because every new update, every little thing they implement, there's always a bug, there's always an issue, there's always a cheater, an exploiter, something to go wrong. And they don't care. They're just quiet about it. They figure if they don't talk about it, it's not real. They have disassociated from the community as a whole, and they only listen to particular individuals, and the rest are told to just fuck off and buy our fucking shit. Siptah should be free. Yep. That's it. That's all I want to talk about. I could go into extreme detail on all these items and issues, but I'm going to assume that a lot of you already know these core issues when this map was released and the issues with server transfers. I'm sure some of you that are new don't even know, like, what, server transfers? That's a thing? Yeah. Yeah, the last thing I'll share with you, of course, you can actually go to a page, okay? And this is on ConanExiles.com, and it still tells you how to server transfer. That's what I'm saying. Why is this still there? Why can I still find this information? Why? Why? I'm on the official website for ConanExiles.com. Why? Why can I find this information on how to transfer characters when it's not even available? All right, I'm out of here. Share your thoughts, opinions. Hashtag sip the free, free Siptah. It should be free, right? Screw it. At this point, it should be. Let people enjoy it at least to some degree, because it's not going to be enjoyed the way it should be. And it's honestly a crap map. They should have just expanded and added more to Exiled Lands. A map that actually has replayability. All right, I'm out of here.